Hi there, greetings and salutations. My name is Jake Query. Derek, you're always mad at me because I don't let you say your name.
Oh, sorry. Was that my cue to say my name? You didn't point at me. Here, let's start over the intro.
I totally pointed
3,
at you.
2, 1.
Hi there, my name is Jake Query.
And I'm Derek Schultz.
Thank you. This is the incredibly, creatively, and appropriately named and charitably award-winning Query and Schultz program on ISC Sports Network, and we're excited about this particular program because we're coming – well, I am.
Okay.
I'm excited for this week because we're coming off of an awesome atmosphere in seeing Ball State win in double overtime.
That was great, yep.
When we were there to give them that lift.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't need us.
We were the good luck charm.
Thursday, we're going to be at Lou Malnati's, and who could not be excited about that because we want people to come out, see us live, have the best pizza. Actually, everything on the menu at Lou Malnati's is fabulous. Nice bar there as well. That's going to be Thursday. We'll talk about that. And all of this is to offset what was a complete disaster for the Colts.
Yeah, I mean, disaster is a good way to put it. It was a little less disastery at the end than I thought it was going to be at the beginning. Remember, they were in a 21-0 hole and then a 24-3 hole, so you thought, oh, my God, this could get really ugly, and the Colts fought back. But, Jake, at this point, well, there are a lot of positives to take from this, and, well, we're going to move forward. That's not good enough anymore. It's not. This isn't year one or year two or even year three for Ballard and Reich. This is year 5 for Reich. This is year 6 for Ballard. So fighting back from adversity and making it a game and all the other, things that coaches and general managers say when these losses happen, it's not good enough anymore. The time for results is now. And the result so far this season in 3 division games is 0-2-1. That is not good enough.
And Derek, in those 3 division games, you got down 20-3 in one of them.
Yep.
You got beat 24-0 in another.
You were never in the other one.
24-3 in one of them.
Yeah. I mean, 17 plus point deficits in all 3 of those
games. Is my
games.
face really that fat?
I don't think your face has gotten fat.
Somebody said to me yesterday at the gym that it looks like I'm gaining weight.
Oh, God. So now you're just going to – you're completely freaked out now, right?
Yeah.
Because now it's in your head?
Yeah.
So you're just going to fast all week?
Yes.
Or just eat, like, boiled chicken breast?
Yes. That's exactly right.
Jake, who cares, man? Like, no, I'm not saying this, like, to be mean, but you're, like, you're like 10 years away from retiring. You have a girlfriend who you've been with for 28 or whatever years. You're commonly law married now. Like, who cares? You have a radio job. Right? You're not on screen outside of the YouTube channel. I guess you're on screen now, but nobody can see kind of the lower half here.
Right. That's where it is, too.
Okay. Like, just relax. You're fine. Just kind of cruise into the sunset here.
I don't want to be that guy,
portion of your life.
I don't want to be that guy that's let himself go.
No one, I don't think, thinks that, though.
I do.
I think you're pretty well put together for being 50 years old.
Well, thanks.
Yeah.
Can
we get back to the Colts now?
Is that a compliment on me or an indictment on being 50?
I think both. I think it's part and a compliment to you, but also, a lot of guys your age don't look that way. Like, don't even look within the realm of being healthy. And you are, at the very least, you look in the realm of being healthy.
Well, I got a stent, for Christ's sake.
Yeah.
But I do have nice hair. Listen, I am healthier right now at 50 than the Colts a quarter of the way through. This is Derek. And here's the thing. And I'm going to be harsh here, okay? In any walk of life for any sports team, you reap the way that you present things and the way that you handle the critique of it. I made this point earlier this morning. The Pacers, for example. The Pacers last year were not good. But the Pacers came out and said, you know what? This was a difficult decision and discussion to have, but we realized we're not good, so we are going to start over, and we are starting from the ground up, and we are asking you fans to be aware of that and to come on board with us and to enjoy the ride, and it's going to be rocky, but we promise you there's a vision and a plan, and it's going to be fun along the way with the growing pains. And I think fans, now they may be different when they're 10 and 20, but for right now I think fans are like, cool, like I'm on board. Let's see what happens with these young players. Mm-hmm. The Colts, on the other hand, have been smarter than everybody from the get-go. Chris Ballard's been more smarmy and more smug than – I've not heard a single interview with Chris Ballard where I thought to myself, that guy seems like a super cool guy that is open to conversation and dialogue. I'm not saying he's a bad guy. I'm not saying he's different than me. I love me some me, right? But Chris Ballard –
I did early on.
What's that?
I think he kind of was like that early on. He's been a little more defensive here recently, I feel
But
like.
here's the thing. Chris Ballard has – I'm not saying he doesn't know how to build a football team, but he's built a football team that's antiquated. And they are too reliant on the run. When they come out after the game and say, well, you know what, like we really wanted to establish a run because that's our identity, and they took it away, well, then you're too easy to beat.
Yeah.
Take away the run.
The last rush defense coming in, the last ranked rush defense was Tennessee coming into that game.
So
and you couldn't run against them.
Right. So to me, the Colts, Jim Irsay has said that no one in that building was going to be there unless they were all chips in. And Chris Ballard, leading up to it, when people said you need to get some dynamic playmaking wide receivers and you need to protect your quarterback, said, no, we're good with what we have. Their receivers are average. Their line sucks. Their quarterback, once again, that they went and got off the discount bin, and there's a reason why he was available, and recycling the quarterback every 2 years. Nyheim Hines, who was one of the players that you were most excited about as an organization heading into it, said after the game yesterday, it's becoming too difficult because we get a new quarterback every single year. It hasn't worked.
No.
It simply hasn't worked. And I'm sorry, but you are going to lose the fan base not only because you're not playing well, but because you are arrogant as hell about it going into it.
2 of your points I'll highlight. It simply isn't working. Yeah. I mean, we can basically sum it up right there. It's just not working. But I'll focus on another one. You want to make a Pacers comparison? This franchise feels a lot like where the Pacers were when they trotted back out LeVert and Sabonis, and guys are hurt again, remember?
Yep.
And it just feels like you want to tell Kevin Pritchard and Chad Buchanan and everybody, guys, this is over. Like, you need to pull the plug on this. This thing is DOA. It feels like right now, Jake, that this thing is DOA. It just feels like it's over for Reich and Ballard.
And here's the problem. Not the problem, but here's the thing. It is still early in the year. The Colts may go they may go Thursday night to Denver and win. They probably will, actually. And we'll be at Lou Malnati's watching it, having cold beer and eating fabulous pizza with people to be able to celebrate that. That may well happen. But you know what? Right now, you've played 3 division games and you have yet to win one. They haven't won a division game yet. And their division sucks.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And they haven't earned the benefit of the doubt, Jake. Like, could they go to Denver and win? Sure. Could they come back home and beat Jacksonville? Yeah. Could they go to Nashville and win, where historically they used to be successful? Absolutely. But the Colts haven't done anything in these first 4 games to lead you to believe that that's going to happen.
Do you know that?
Why are we giving the Colts? You know, it's a lot like every preseason, the Colts end up being the Vegas favorite of the AFC South. Why? Like, how many times are we going to do this where we say, okay, well, this is the year. Well, no. Well, this is the year. No. Well, this is the year. Well, if they only do this, if they only do that, well, God, are they ever going to do it?
Here, let me ask you a question. There are 2 things that I'm thinking of. 2 things that Drew Brees, Andrew Luck, and Ben Roethlisberger have in common. Number 1 is what? Which is obvious. What's the one thing right now that Ben Roethlisberger, Andrew Luck...
They're all done with football?
Correct.
Okay.
The second thing they have in common is all of them led a statistical passing category in the NFL the last year the Colts won a division.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, it's been a minute. It's been a minute for sure. And that's the thing, Jake. That's where this regime is losing me. Like, I think it's very hard to contend in the NFL. It's hard, especially without a franchise quarterback. I am more than willing to be patient with the fact that the Colts haven't been to a Super Bowl in 13 years, haven't seriously contended for one, I guess you could say 2014, but really I think we know that team wasn't quite a Super Bowl contender, but let's go ahead and use that. Haven't seriously contended for one. They were 2 wins away in 2014 in 8 seasons. What I can't deal with and where I have completely run out of patience with is with this division.
Yeah.
The fact that they can't even climb atop this garbage heap is extremely frustrating to me.
Here's the bottom line. The bottom line is this. If the Colts say that they need more time or they need to make tweaks to get to where they want to be, that's fine. But they didn't. Everybody else told them that's what they needed, and they said, we know more than you. You just don't know football like we do. Well, here we are.
Yeah,
Maybe everybody else was right, and that's where they lose the benefit of the doubt. Their arrogance about this is where they lose the benefit of the doubt.
But let's also – I don't disagree with that. We have to hold the players accountable too. When Quentin Nelson is getting his lunch eaten by Danico Autry, that can't happen. If you're going to pay $20 million to Quentin Nelson, he's got to be elite all the time. He can't have that. Autry, there's another Ballard example. Gee, I'm really glad that they have the cap savings from that. I mean, they could have used Autry last year. You could say that the defensive line's okay now. I don't want to get too much on a side trail there. Ryan Kelly has to be better. Braden Smith has to be better. I know he's banged up right now, but DeForest Buckner has to be a game wrecker.
Derek,
if that's what it's going to. Jonathan Taylor has to be better. Like all these guys, if you're going to reward and build around a running back, a slot corner, a left guard, a center, a right tackle, 2 interior defensive linemen, they have to be great all the time.
Have you ever seen the round, high schools do them, the round like sign that has, that says go team, that the cheerleaders hold up and they run through? That currently is, right now, the Colts are using one of those at left tackle and one at right guard.
Yeah.
Right?
But the problem goes deeper than, Nelson did not, for the most part, played well, but the 2 times where he got blown by were game-changing plays by Autry to force the fumble and to get the sack, to get them out of field goal range, I think on the 3rd quarter drive, if I'm not mistaken. I think I have that right. I have to go back and look. But you can't have that happen. Like, you can't have Jonathan Taylor miss a cut.
Right.
Yes, the offensive line has left a lot to be desired this year, but Taylor himself feels like he's a little in his head right now.
I think Jonathan Taylor's hurt.
So
right?
your good players aren't close to good enough.
Right.
And I think that's the core of the Colts' problem. Like the other things that we talk about on here, like wide receiver and tight end, at least they haven't been bad. Certainly the tight ends have been surprisingly good. Wide receiver hasn't been bad. It hasn't been great.
Wide receiver can't get
bad.
enough separation, though, Derek.
No,
and they can't get themselves open right off the line to help out Matt Ryan.
They're not – I wasn't asking the wide receivers to be something that they weren't. I knew that going in. What I didn't know was that their quarterback, who I thought was going to raise the floor of this offense, can't hold on to the football. What I didn't know was that this offensive line was going to regress to the point where it's one of the worst units in the league. Those are the things that I didn't know. So that's what frustrates me about this team. I'm not frustrated about the things that I knew were going to be shortcomings for them or that I knew weren't going to be impact areas. Like, we knew wide receiver was not going to be an impact area for them, right? But they needed to win with this offensive line and with this running game,
but Derek,
and with their quarterback keeping kind of things in the center lane, and none of that is happening.
The Colts put themselves in position where they need the LA Rams. The Rams can win if Cooper Kupp has an off night, right? The Kansas City Chiefs. The Kansas City Chiefs can win if you take away one of their receivers because they have multiple weapons and talent, right? Hell, the New England Patriots. The New England Patriots can lose their starting quarterback and go into Lambeau with a guy that literally is introducing himself to the offensive line in the huddle and contend, go to overtime.
Yeah.
The Colts put themselves in a position where they are specialized offensively, where we have to run the football to win. What is it? What the hell is this, 1986? Right?
And it's crumbled. I mean, they did it in 19. They did it in 20. They did it last year. This was a good rush offense, and that's what's so shocking to me.
But
I think a lot of people, Jake, are painting the Colts' problems as, well, we knew this was a problem, and now it's a problem. There are certain things that are happening through 4 games that are a problem that I did not know were going to be a problem.
You know who knows it? You know who knows the Colts are flawed? You know who knows the Colts are screwed?
Tell me.
Jim Irsay.
Yeah.
And the reason I know that, I haven't talked to Jim Irsay about that, but the reason I know it is this. I don't know that Jim Irsay knows that he knows that, but he does, because I'm old enough to remember when, to get people to come to the Colts games, it was never about coming to see Gary Hogaboom. It was never about coming to see Chris Chandler. It was never about coming to see Blaze Winter. It was about coming to get a Kroger Johnny Cooks poster. It was about coming to see Ray Compton juggling knives and getting a touchdown monkey.
Good old Ray.
And it was about Tom Zapanzich deadlifting Tonka trucks.
Yep.
That's what drew you down there. Jim Irsay this week, what was he touting?
About how they were going to fight and the Titans, and
he asked the fans to do that.
Yeah.
Then he said, come
Phil
down
Lucas
because
Oil Stadium.
We've got Grover Stewart's chicken wings. We've got the Maniac Sandwich, the new Darius Leonard burger. Jim Irsay knows his team is screwed because he has reverted back to selling everything to the fan about the experience but his team.
Yeah. But that's what it's come to, Jake.
I understood, because the Colts promised that they were all chips in, and what it comes down to is the only thing that matters is that fans are.
Yeah. And people are going to check out.
Correct.
If this thing doesn't get righted, people are already starting to check
Now,
out.
they'll come
But
back.
if this
I
thing-
mean, eventually they'll come back. We know that, but
yeah, but come back to what? I mean, what does this look like to you? It looks like to me like a 7-10 level team. I mean, this offense, what is the ceiling for this offense? Even if this offense dramatically improves, it would just be mediocre. That's how bad. This has been the worst offense in the league. You know, say what you want about all the problems with the Colts. If they're going to score 17 points every week, they have no chance.
you're right.
They have no chance. I
You're
know they
right.
scored 20 last week against the Chiefs, but we've seen, like, that was a massive fluke.
I mean, you realize that we are one slur of some sort from a Chiefs player on the field away from the Colts being winless.
And that was one of 500 mistakes that the Chiefs made in that game. And that's what happens. You have 17 weeks, you have an outlier win and an outlier loss, and the Colts have already had their outlier win.
Did you wear that shirt before?
I think so. Yeah, I think we were talking about
Didn't you
this
get mad at
before.
me for doubling up shirts one time?
I know. I look really good in this shirt. It's Banana Republic outlet, so it's nice. It's a nice material. You want to feel it?
No.
Here, feel it. Wait, feel it right now.
No, that's okay.
Because my tries are popping a little bit. Feels good.
Keyword is try, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's good.
Now, I had on a
This
shirt
is,
when we
this
were
is
at Ball,
one area that doesn't have any flaws.
the shirt that I wore to Ball State is one that I like the way I look in it. I wore one similar at my 50th birthday.
I don't remember your Ball State. You wore Ball State gear, I remember.
No, it's just a gray shirt.
Oh, it was? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we need to get you some Ball State gear.
From Nordy's.
We're going to be back there, by the way, October 22nd.
I have a Ball State T-shirt, but I'm gaining weight. And it's a little snug.
Okay. Wow.
That's 30 pounds between now and the mini.
Go to Shannon's spin class or something. Like, add in some more.
I'm taking the algebra class. I'm
Cardio.
putting in 15 hours a week with my tutor.
I don't want to discourage you from this because I think it's great to earn a college degree. But again, like, you're closer to death than you are to doing anything with that degree. So why not just take care of yourself and just not worry about that stuff? Like, spin class is probably more important than your intro to enviro science class.
It's not an
right
intro.
now.
That was a 400 level class.
Okay.
Environmental conservation.
Yeah, whatever it was.
Yeah. Do you know how important? I mean, when you start talking about like coral bleaching and scrubbing, it's important.
Just
stuff.
make sure that you cut the 6-pack rings for the cans so
Yeah.
fish don't get caught in them.
Right.
That's really the only thing that you have to worry about.
We'll just recycle them.
And that's the environment. Bang. There you go. Boom. A+. Now get in that spin class and melt those pounds away. Do you want me to train you?
What possibly you're going to train me in? If you can train
Physical
me in
fitness.
if you can train me in learning the slopes in algebra, I'm having problems with that.
I cannot train you in that.
Okay.
Yeah. I barely passed finite math. My freshman year roommate is the only reason that was the last math class that I
Did
took.
he take the
21
class
years
for
ago.
you?
He didn't take. We were in the same class. No, it wasn't like anything below board. Like, I took all the exams, but he is the one that kind of taught me the formulas and how all of that
That's the
worked.
guy that smoked pot all the time and then left because his girlfriend jilted him.
He was very intelligent. So, yeah, I mean, he was a little bit progressive in his views about things like marijuana. But, yes,
Okay.
he was a very intelligent guy.
Are you looking forward to Thursday? Because I am.
I am. I can't wait to be at Lou Malnati's in Broad Ripple. Look, I know the Colts aren't playing well right now. Denver's not exactly cloaking themselves in
That's
glory.
a great place to watch a game, though. They got
The patio is beautiful.
well, they got beers on tap. They got a cool bar in there.
I
It's a
looked at
cool
the forecast
atmosphere.
on Thursday. Little crisp because it's fall, but it should be a clear night and a nice night for us to be out there. So I'm really, really excited about that.
It's gonna be fun.
And we're going to talk about our Who's Cooking for this week. We got to get
Okay.
to that right now.
All right.
Brought to you by our friends at Lou Malnati's. There were some positives. Unlike the Jacksonville performance, there were some positives from yet another loss, a division loss for the Colts
I know exactly who this should
yesterday against Tennessee. I think there are actually a few individuals that you can choose from. You probably could choose Mo Alley Cox,
Correct.
or the tight
They're
ends.
tight ends, yeah.
I'm actually going to go with Alec Pierce because he's now
That's good.
strung together 2 games where he has shown you his ability to go up and get it, and that's a great trait to have in the NFL.
be. He's become a nice, probably number 2 receiver here shortly, right?
Essentially,
Yeah.
I mean, who else is taking that?
Not Paris Campbell.
Well, I mean, the sad thing about Paris Campbell is that, Jake, I'm like, people are like, well, he had a couple of nice catches, and you look at the box score, and it's like, Paris Campbell, 4 catches for 37 yards. And I'm like, it's year 4, guys. Like,
Yeah, a number one.
this is what we're expecting from Paris Campbell. I mean, my God, he's got 9 catches and 90 yards on the entire year in 4 games. Like, the ship's kind of sailed there. I think he's just a guy. Alec Pierce maybe can be a little bit more than that. So
Agreed.
he's my who's cooking this week.
I will go with the tight end position, right? Just the unit of tight ends.
They were amazing.
Between Granson, Mo Alley Cox, and then obviously Jelani Woods, we've seen that he's become a nice safety net for Matt Ryan. So the tight end position, to me, as a unit, I will put them in there in the who's cooking, because they're starting to cook up a little bit, and maybe that gives the Colts that necessary element, that wrinkle to their offense they need to try to wean themselves off of this thought process of Jonathan Taylor all the time. It reminds me right now, not necessarily in the Tennessee game, because Tennessee took the run away from them, but I'm worried that the Colts could become too reliant on the run in the Eric Dickerson mold of Dickerson for 4 yards, Dickerson for 5 yards, incomplete pass punt. That was our offense in 1988. I don't want to see it go back to that.
You loved 1988.
I liked 87.
If I gave you a magic wand right now, you would happily go back to 1988.
1988, right? I would not. 88
Probably
was
be
a rough
about
year.
40 pounds less.
Well, that's true, but Indiana lost to Richmond in 88. That was the total disappointment. Dodgers won the World Series. That was cool.
Yeah, Kirk Gibson.
That I can live with. The Lakers, Pistons, okay.
Again.
Yeah, I mean, that doesn't do much for me. I wasn't like a big Niners fan. That was the peak of the Joe Montana Niners years. Kansas won the national title in basketball. They were tied 50-50 at the half against Oklahoma. It was a great game. The Final Dukakis was in the tank, running around.
Mm-hmm.
But 87 was a great year, and 89 was a great year. 88, bridge between the two.
Yeah, actually, that's kind of like 04 and 06 were kind of like years. 05 was a huge year for me.
What happened in 05?
I graduated school, but then I stuck around because all my roommates, the lease was still going, and all my roommates were rising seniors. And so I had all of the spoils of Bloomington without actually being enrolled in school, which was nice.
So you were working?
I was working, yeah, but I just went on a massive hot streak, too. This was like right before Ashley. And, yeah, you've had hot streaks before, right? I don't really want to talk about it on air, but I think people know, like other guys that are watching know what I'm talking about. You just get on a hot streak.
Okay. Did you date any of these girls?
No.
So you couldn't get dumped. That's cool.
Which was actually great. Yeah, I wish I would have known that like a couple of years before that when I was wasting my time with Megan.
Were you in the? We have a name now.
Well, yeah, from New Jersey. You know about Megan, I think.
Is
I dated for the whole first half of college.
Oh yeah, and then she dumped you, and you started listening to The Cure.
I did. Yeah. Well, no, that was Ann. That was early on. Yeah. Which was The Cure.
No,
yeah.
I'm not aware of
Megan was more like Dashboard Confessional, I think, depression I got into at that point. Yeah.
Okay. Did you ever get in the friend zone with any of these girls?
No. Got friendly.
I'm sure you did.
But not during that hot streak.
You don't think they were just using you for a discount on a bloomin' onion?
I like to think that we were using each other. But yeah. Can we move on now? We'll go ahead and move on. When we come back, other NFL Week 4 thoughts will go throughout the league.
I don't even want to know what aspect you were using.
Just, look at this and then use your head. I mean, think of this 20 years younger. Okay. Except I had like a tongue ring and earrings and a goatee. Rake remembers that. Back in 2005 was when Rake first hired me. So I was interning, part-timing by day and by night. And that was my life for a while, for that year.
Okay.
I was also smoking a lot, which I probably shouldn't have been doing, but yeah.
Would you girls like to come back and check out the latest audio of me doing some high school updates?
Colts injury report as well. You'd be surprised how much that got my foot in the door with a lot of these girls. Stuff like that. As they head into a short week and a Thursday night football game against Denver, plenty of features to get to. Purdue, a big win. Indiana, we'll talk about all of it. We come back. Episode 105 of Query and Schultz continues next here on the ISC Sports Network.
Nice snap.
Mortgage is a snap. Duh.
Bailey and Wood, a lending hand for Wish TV Sports.
Other universities didn't fit into my life.
They said I'd have to quit my job to go to school.
They said it would take me 4 years to graduate. They said I have to take tests when they tell me to.
They said my degree would cost a fortune.
but I didn't have to listen to them.
Because I have a university that listens to me.
Tests on your time, courses on your time, graduate on your time. WGU, the University of You.
Hey, AC!
Nice snap.
Mortgage is a snap! Duh!
Bailey and Wood, a lending hand for Wish TV Sports.
Welcome back. It's Bailey and Wood presents Query and Schultz. Episode 105 here on the IC Sports Network alongside Jay Query. I am Derek Schultz. Thanks so much for joining us. We've got some late-breaking Colts news. We're taping this right now around lunchtime on Monday.
This is not a surprise.
No surprise. Shaquille Leonard, 3, 2, 1. Shaquille Leonard out for Thursday night's
What did you
game.
just do there?
I said Darius first.
I know, but do you want to just start the whole thing over again?
I just did. I did 3, 2, 1, and we know Jordan goes back in there and he edits all of this.
I don't think he does.
He'll take all of this
I
out.
think a lot of people know the countdown.
No, I don't think anybody
No,
knows.
April has said before, she has a hashtag. We'll get that in post.
I never actually rewatched these, so I was just assuming that Jordan was back
That's
there
very apparent.
editing. Is that not happening? Is Jordan not editing this stuff? Maybe get Vincent to edit it? Maybe I should do it more.
Vincent?
3, 2, well, you don't learn anybody's name here. Everybody to you is like buddy, pal, chief.
Jimmy.
But yeah, see, Vincent's over there
Vincent's
in the blue shirt
Vincent's
behind the glass.
kid in Seinfeld that Elaine meets through the video store.
Okay.
Vincent's Picks.
Video store. Imagine you can explain to Vincent after the show what a video store is, because I'm sure he has no idea.
So
what
we're starting
you're
the whole
talking
thing
about.
over here again, Derek. You
All
ready?
right, here we go. Let's be more demonstrative.
Then
here.
we'll look up and
3, 2, 1. Welcome back. It's Bailey and Wood presents Query and Schultz here on the IC Sports Network alongside Jay Query. I'm Derek Schultz. Some late-breaking Colts injury news. We're taping this right now on Monday around
This
lunchtime.
is not a surprise, Derek.
Not a surprise. Shaquille Leonard will not play. Left the game with a concussion. You feel for him, don't you? The poor guy.
I
he
didn't
comes
think, though, Derek,
all the way back.
And again, I mean, certainly hope he is well, and that's a scary injury for certain. I didn't think before that he was really of impact. To be
Well,
honest
he was on a
with you.
pitch count. I think it was just
He
important
was,
for
but
him
he
to be
looked
back out on
He
the
looked
field.
like he was trying to avoid contact.
I mean, can you blame him, I guess? I don't
No,
know. You're trying
I'm
to
not,
get your sea
and again,
legs.
that's not a
Sure.
diss on him at all. Great player. But, I don't know at the level that he was playing that he, you know what I mean?
Kind of like the Colts as a team, I'm not sure 2022 is in the cards for Shaquille Leonard. Like, I just wonder if this season is just going to be a lost season for him, unfortunately.
That's possible.
I hope that's not the case.
Right.
It sucks. So he's not going to play Thursday night against Denver. Also, Greg Rakestraw tells us Tyquan Lewis had concussion-like symptoms after the game. He is not going to play. And I don't know the severity. Are they saying it's an ankle sprain for Jonathan Taylor?
He had a toe injury, and then that probably facilitated into
Lower extremity.
a high ankle issue.
Whatever
I mean,
it is for Jonathan Taylor. Obviously, that would be a huge blow to not have him. Because this is the type of game, Jake, that you could beat Denver scoring 17, 20, 21
Denver's
points.
struggling.
You could beat them scoring that amount. So you could probably grind out a win with Jonathan Taylor against a team like Denver. But if you don't have him, it's going to be awfully tough to do.
Yeah, that is not a good situation. But again, Denver, Russell Wilson has not found his footing in Denver offensively. To your point, Derek, I don't know how many points they're going to score. So this would seem to be a good opportunity for the Colts to get back on the right side of things.
It's a really weird year in the AFC West, isn't it? Like, we thought that Russ was going to immediately make Denver into a contender.
See, I didn't think that. I'm not trying to.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
I thought that Russell Wilson, I think he's a good player. But number one, I think he's lost a little bit. But number two, I think Russell Wilson is the kind of player that you kind of have to kind of build around. I don't know that you can just plug him in anywhere and he automatically picks it up.
That's fair.
And it just didn't seem to me like they had the system there for him to just be airdropped into.
But isn't it weird that, like, Geno Smith's kind of playing well?
He is.
Seattle's okay. It's just a weird year in the NFL. Like, when you take a look through 4 weeks, this is the first time I feel like we have a sample size to go on and we say, okay, we've got a month of NFL football now, basically, to talk about. Now, I don't think the Giants are 3-1. I don't think they're a great team. Meanwhile, other teams that are struggling, I don't think are completely out of it. But you've got a dozen teams right now who are 2-2.
Yeah.
A dozen. The NFL's
And
middle, to me, Jake, is huge. And the top and bottom are very small.
Do you know, okay, the Philadelphia Eagles are the last unbeaten.
Yeah. And they look really good.
They're Nick Sirianni, give him credit, right?
Mm-hmm.
There have been, I believe, 17 Super Bowl winners that were the last unbeaten team in their respective season. Do you know the last team to be the last unbeaten in a season and win the Super Bowl?
It's not the 06 Colts, is it?
It is.
Wow. Because they were 9-0.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people, they started every year like that. I mean, they were 05, they were 13-0, right?
Yeah.
06, they were 9-0. 07, they were 8-0 before they played the Patriots, I think. And that was a game that they led in the fourth quarter. 09, they were 14-0. I mean, it's
crazy.
The whole discussion, Star Wars numbers, and that interview that Irsay gave Jarrett Bell 10 years ago, and what the fans said about the 2000s only being one ring. I hope that if there's one positive thing to come out of the last 8 years, I hope that fans will reflect and learn just how difficult that was and how special that was, that the Colts basically for a 6 or 7 year span rolled out of bed and won every week.
Yeah.
I mean, from 2003 through 2009, the Colts basically won every week. And when they lost, it was a catastrophe. I mean, it was a big deal. Now the Colts lose, and you're just like, okay, yeah, it's another Sunday.
Yesterday at the game, they featured on the Jumbotron. Greg might be able to help me out here. It was a former. Were you at the game?
No.
They honored a former player, and I remember thinking, like, wait a minute, when was he here? I thought he was still on the roster. Who was it?
Taiwan Hagler. Okay.
That's it. Taiwan Hagler.
That's a name I have not heard in a long time.
And they put him up on the video board, and he's like waving to the crowd, and people were acting like you would have thought that it was Franco Harris's return to Pittsburgh.
Really?
And I'm like, Taiwan Hagler, what years was he? What was he here? Like 4 years?
4 years? Yeah, I was going to say 4 or 5 years.
I mean, like, is Freddie Keaho next?
Okay, 05 to 10. All
wow,
right.
I never would have guessed it was that long ago.
All right.
So he was on the Super Bowl teams.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good era. That's the Marlon Jackson era, essentially.
I mean,
I think
a good player.
He played the same
a solid player.
Yeah, he was whatever.
But I'm like, okay, I mean, that seems a random one. Like, people went nuts, like as if that was this. You know, the other thing I noticed yesterday, we've talked about this before, the number of jerseys you see at the game of guys that don't play here anymore.
Yeah, we talked about how sad it would be if the Colts ever ended up being that team, and now they're that team. Something else, and kind of the last thought on the Colts from yesterday, and I'm trying not to be overly mean here, because do whatever you want with your money. But late in the second quarter of that game, I looked outside, and it is 71 degrees and sunny, and I thought to myself, I can't imagine paying real money to sit inside and watch. I know the roof was open, and watch this.
Here's the point I made, and I meant to say this earlier. The Colts' mantra this year is all chips in. We live in a city where beautiful sunny days of crisp air and being outside with your family and taking the dog out and working in the yard, you know, we're entering into an area here very quickly. It's coming faster than you think, where we're going to go through 4 months where you can't do that. You only have so many days like that left in the season. Between that and the amount of money it costs to get a babysitter if need be, to pay for parking, to buy your game tickets, concessions. The only people in that stadium yesterday that were all chips in were the fans.
And they deserve better.
Correct.
And you deserve better than what you got, certainly for at least for a half of football. It's too bad to me. We've got our Hoagie and Hero of the Week coming up here in just a second. While we were on the concussion topic, I know this feels dated because it happened with the Thursday night game, but I wanted to get a chance to discuss because it was a huge story with what happened with Tua and having to leave the game, and then, of course, all of the after effects of that. But what was your reaction to how that all played out?
You know, with Tua's injury going into that game and the discussion that he had not been concussed beforehand, but it was a back issue, I don't buy that. I felt like, Derek, the NFL, that was a step backward for the NFL because this is a sport that is brutal. It is a collision sport, not a contact sport. And the flippance towards which they had handled neurological injuries for so long started to turn people off. And then the movie Concussion came out, and people were like, whoa, wait a minute, and CTE and all of that. And it seemed as though the NFL was doing the right things. And the goodwill was recaptured with fans, and people were overlooking the gladiator brutality of the sport. And all of a sudden, some of the things that created a fatigue about the NFL went away. And then that happened with Tua, and he gets hurt, and it's the imagery. It's one thing to see a guy get up and kind of do one of these, but when you see a guy that all of a sudden, like, his muscles can form and his hands are doing this, it was very uncomfortable for people. And I felt like it awakened in people that doubt of a voyeuristic nature of watching something that they were uncomfortable with.
Yeah.
And the
It's very
NFL took a
uncomfortable.
step backwards.
Yeah. I mean, they say that you can't see the toll that it takes when you can see it.
Correct.
The Austin Collie hand straight up in the air thing. I mean, it's the most haunting sports moment of my life. I doubt that I will ever see something that physically shakes me up as much as that did. I mean, that was I think I remember they were playing Philadelphia, right?
I remember sending a
the Philly
tweet right
game?
then that said, like, is it time for Austin Collie to begin considering retirement?
Yeah.
And people were like, you're crazy. And I mean, and then that shortly after that, I think he had one more and people were like, whoa, wait a minute.
Yeah, it's time.
Yeah.
I think that you're right. I mean, they have neurologists and all of that. I'm not going to pretend to be a neurologist from my couch, but I think we could all agree that it's a bad look after what happened Sunday to come back on a short week and have them do it again. And then, God forbid, what happened. So hopefully Tua is okay, but the NFL needs to put their money where their mouth is. These can't just be empty words. Hey, we're going to take this stuff seriously, and concussions and all of that, and player safety. And, the Colts are going through this whole thing with, I know it's a different type of mental health, but all that stuff. Like, there needs to be action behind that. And so hopefully they clean some of this stuff up.
I'm really intrigued by the sandwich here. This turkey
Yeah,
looks
so
fabulous.
quick story. I was in my neighborhood in Midtown. So I was at Hoagies and Hops. My wife was like, I want something hot. And I was like, well, you want to split a cheesesteak?
How'd she end up with you?
Well, I talked about that hot streak, right?
Yeah, okay.
You want a cheesesteak, I said. And she was like, yeah, absolutely. Let's get one of Hoagies and Hops. So I went in there lunchtime. It was packed. A lot of the Eagles fans were there. They had a 1 o'clock game against the Jags. And I'm looking through the menu, and I'm like, we've basically eaten through the menu twice. The two people in front of me got this sandwich. And it's called the Market Street. And I'll be honest with you, all of Christina's sandwiches are amazing. This was not one that was real high on my power rankings, but the two people in front of me got it, so I was like, I'm going to give this one another chance and see if it shoots up the power rankings for me, because all of the elements of it are great. So some slaw here. Sorry, it's like dripping on my hand. It's delicious. It's a little messy, but it's delicious. Thousand Island, turkey, ham, Munster. That's the key here. I love the sharp prove that Christina has. Provolone. But the Munster is a very underrated sandwich cheese. And I just thought, why not? So let's do it. Did I bring napkins? I have about napkins over here, huh?
Don't talk with your mouth full, Derek.
Okay, you say something. Talk. So I can.
I'm not going to talk with my mouth full.
Why did you chew when I chew? We're supposed to trade off on chewing. I forget. 42nd and Boulevard, hoagiesandhops.com for their entire menu. And we thank Christina, Donnie, the whole crew, the Sunday crew especially, because those are the people that I interact with.
I want to
the most.
enjoy. That's why I'm taking my time. The flavoring of the spice and the kind of sweetness of the Thousand Island, perfect.
Yeah, it's good.
Perfect balance.
Thousand Island, I actually like more on sandwiches than I like on salads. Like I don't think I'd ever get Thousand Island on a salad, but I love it on sandwiches or dip your fries in it, chips in it, whatever else. Really, really good.
I think Thousand Island is the special sauce at All American Burger in Fast Times, right?
Is that a movie? Hero of the week, Cooper Rush for the Dallas Cowboys. Didn't do anything spectacular. 22-10 win over the Commanders.
A movie?
But Dallas now 3-0 with him as the starter, and he has yet to commit a turnover. So he only completed 15 passes. He's a guy that's he's a backup, right? He's trying to keep the car in the center lane.
Ginger?
But he is, yeah. My beard used to have some red notes, and now it's getting a little more gray. Unfortunately, I'm getting like gray mustache hairs that protrude from there. But good for
Dallas
Cooper
has
Rush.
had, in the last 4 years,
Couple gingers, yeah.
they've had 2 ginger quarterbacks and a ginger coach.
That's right, yeah. Jason Garrett. A little less. Andy Dalton was a full-on ginger. I think Jason Garrett had a little more of a recessive ginger.
Jason Garrett looks just like the Wigmaster from Seinfeld in the Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat episode.
I got to ask you, let's try to keep the pop culture references like this century.
Oh, Seinfeld's this century.
Because this is getting a little bit
more
more
Seinfeld.
difficult.
Seinfeld, though, it's on.
The last episode of Seinfeld was like 98.
Right. It's also on 6-hour marathons on Comedy Central every single day.
Television? What's that?
Oh, I'm sorry. It's on Netflix. Does that help?
Okay, yeah, that does help a little bit. That's a little bit.
Are you watching
that's kind of fading out too.
Are you watching the Dahmer documentary?
I am, but I sidetracked onto. I'm watching a 4-part docuseries on the Iranian hostage crisis, which is great.
I have a bracelet.
The Dahmer stuff it's very, very slow.
It's well done, though.
Yeah, it's slow. It's 10 episodes that probably could have been 5.
I don't know. There's a lot to get to.
The first episode is just like, come on, man. I know he escapes the apartment. Like, get on with it.
Well, you have to wait to get to the meat of it.
I don't like using the term meat to discuss the Dahmer documentary.
I think it's some pork chops. The Iranian hostage situation, I was in kindergarten basically during the peak of that, and then first grade. And my mom got my sister and I bracelets. I don't know where she did this. I would assume it was fairly common. But I had a bracelet, a metal bracelet with the name, I still remember, Colonel Thomas E. Schaefer, United States Air Force. He was one of the hostages. And so we were to wear the bracelet every day until they were released. And I still have the bracelet. And I actually met a gentleman about 15 years ago that knew him, that emailed him to let him know, like, that I still had the bracelet and da-da-da-da.
That's pretty cool.
I never did make contact with him. I mean, I kind of understand. I'm assuming he didn't necessarily want to revisit it all.
Sure, yeah. Had to be very traumatic.
But is the documentary good?
Yeah, it's good. It gives you a lot of the back history on things because, you're just given the whole this good, this bad, and there's some nuance to all of what was happening there and America's involvement in the Shah.
Is the Ayatollah in it?
Yeah.
Ayatollah Khomeini?
Yep. A lot of that too. So I'm learning. That was before I was born. So I knew
it was a big deal for sure.
But it wasn't really until Argo that I really understood what it was. So I have a weird fascination. You and I, if there's one thing that we share, besides like fame, relevance, and all that, one other thing that we really kind of share is an interest in like the dark nature of human tragedy. Yours is much more dark than the interest that I'm interested in, but I'm fascinated by international conflict and tragedy and whatever else,
historical
war and all of that stuff. Like that is just, it fascinates me.
We had a fun and fascinating Saturday at Ball State, Schumann Stadium. That's just one of the things that we're going to get to in our college football segment, right?
Yep, can't wait. We're going to recap big wins for the Cards as well as the Boilers.
That's right.
A tough one for Indiana and where they go from here. We'll talk about all of it when we return. It's Query and Schultz here on the ISC Sports Network. Stick around.
Hey, I'm Jeff Saturday, and my favorite thing when I was a professional football player was Indiana. The Hoosier State always made me feel like family. That's why I trust Indiana's hometown mortgage lender, Bailey & Wood. This family-owned company not only gives back to the communities they serve, but also with their 5-star customer service, they can close on your dream home in days, not weeks. So remember, Indiana, you can always get your mortgages at a snap with Bailey & Wood.
Hey, Jeff, how does this look? Yay!
Not bad, bud, but let's stick to mortgages.
Welcome back, Query and Schultz, presented by Bailey & Wood Financial Group here on the ISC Sports Network. Alongside an empty chair, I'm Derek Schultz. One other note on the Colts, Frank Reich having his weekly press conference on Monday morning / Monday afternoon where we're taping this. These scans for Jonathan Taylor appear to be clean, so they're monitoring the situation. It's still going to be difficult on a short week, but at least there's not some major injury, at least that we can see for Jonathan Taylor, so good news. Some much-needed good news for the Colts heading into a Thursday night game. Let's talk college football, Jake. Really big win for Purdue, especially when you consider that in the first couple of games here, notably in their losses against Penn State and Syracuse, when they really needed to make a play, they never made the play.
Right.
This is a really simplistic way of kind of looking at it. But against Minnesota, it was kind of this grind-it-out type game where they're down a couple of key pieces. Now, Minnesota was down some of their key players too, but Purdue's down a couple of key pieces. O'Connell's out there at probably 80%, if that. And you needed to grind it out, and when the opportunity was there to make a play, you needed to make that play, and they just did it every time. A fantastic defensive performance and a great win.
And this is what Purdue needed. Now, Purdue, what do I always say? If you lose a game that you should have won, you got to make it up somehow by getting a win that was unexpected. You could maybe say Purdue-Minnesota is a 50-50 game, but Minnesota, undefeated at the time, you put yourself in position to get back into the correct lane in the Big Ten West. And going in and doing it on the road was much needed for Purdue to try to get themselves some footing. And it leads to, Derek, when it came down to it, and they needed to get a play, they not only got it once, but they were able to go back to, in what is my version, and I don't know about yours, but when it comes to our Love That Play, brought to you by the good guys at Love Heating and Air.
We were supposed to do Sage Move of the Week this segment.
We can do that as well, but I'm telling you right now, then I'll tease it.
Okay.
My Love That Play upcoming from Love Heating and Air probably is going to be something specific about that Purdue-Minnesota game.
I mean, I gave you the show rundown right before the show.
I can't read my handwriting.
Did you see Love That Play that was in segment 3? I mean, we were supposed to Love That Play was segment 4.
I can't tell what you had here.
Well, your bad chicken scratch handwriting is not my fault.
Well, your handwriting's terrible.
Okay. So Jake just kind of previewed what his Love That Play is going to be.
It's hard for you to get your hands on the
we
pen.
will get to Love That Play for the next segment of the show. But I think you were going to mention Devin Maccabee.
Correct.
And, you know, here's a guy from, what is it, Rick? Boonville?
Boonville Pioneers.
Boonville. And he's a walk-on running back. And to have the performance that he had, a couple of really nice runs on a day when they needed it. But the best thing that I could say about Purdue, look, they could go to Maryland and lose. Purdue could still lose to Wisconsin. Purdue could lose to Illinois. Purdue could lose to Iowa. Purdue could lose to Indiana. They could lose the bucket game. I don't know. There's not a single game on their schedule left that they cannot win.
That's fair.
I think that every single opponent for them that remains is beatable. Now, that's not to say that Purdue's going to run the table, but that's a great position to be in when you can look at a schedule and say, I think Purdue could beat any single one of these opponents that they still have left on their slate.
Now, how about this, Derek? Last week, thank you to Corey Elliott for filling in, right, in my absence as my friends from Australia were in town.
Corey and Schultz.
And so there you go.
Yeah.
And so I took around my Australian friends and toured them around the state, and so that's why I was unable to be here. So thank you for making that possible. Corey also affiliated with WGU Indiana, and WGU Indiana is the online accredited university, the largest online accredited university in the state of Indiana, which is the place for you to go if you are looking to either continue or finish your college education, or maybe setting out for that for the very first time, because ambition never rests in WGU, an accredited university where you have all of the opportunities right there before you, and you can work on your own schedule. That's the beauty of WGU. WGU.edu/Indiana for affordable, number one, and number two, accommodating in terms of your schedule, accredited college degrees in the state of Indiana, and they bring us each and every week our Sage Move of the Week.
Great tie-in to WGU Indiana, because my Sage Move of the Week is the first college that you dropped out from, Kansas.
That's right.
Re-entering the top 25.
Necessarily drop out, Derek?
Sorry, you left because you missed your mommy.
No. They kind of said, thank you for the experiment.
I did not know this. I thought that you left – I'm serious. I thought that you left Kansas on your own accord because you were homesick.
To be honest, I'd have to go back and look, but I was so homesick I didn't go to class second semester.
Oh, wow.
So I think I left on probation.
Well, I was on probation. Probation's not getting kicked out.
I can't remember if I was on 1 or 2 semesters of probation.
I was on 1
I mean, I must not have been totally kicked out because I went to IU after that.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, how about the Jayhawks, man? Rock chalk, right?
Yeah, 13 seasons they had not found the top 25, and now here they are at 5-0. Game day's coming for their game against TCU. How about their head coach, Lance Leopold, is 6-2 in his last 8 games. They went 2-10 last season, but they won late in the year against Texas, and now they're 5-0. Here's to put that in perspective, what that means. You know, just 6 wins in 8 games for Kansas. His predecessors, Les Miles in 2 seasons, 3-18. David Beatty in 4 seasons, 6-42. Charlie Weiss, one of your favorites, in 3 seasons, 6-22. Turner Gill, 2 seasons, 5-19. I mean, to say
who was the fat fellow that was
Mark Mangino?
He was throwing poo on people, right?
I don't know if that was actually. There were some rumors about a bath towel and things like that, but yeah, he actually took him to the Sugar Bowl too. So that, you know, Kansas, the last time they were in the top 25 was with Mark Mangino, but this was. To say this was the worst major college football program in the country is doing a disservice to bad college football programs in the country. Like, they were so far the worst. They were the worst of the worst of the worst.
And so right now they're 5-0. Who have they beaten?
They beat, I think they beat West Virginia, right? Is that who they just recently beat?
Might be right.
Let me go back and look.
Because this TCU game's a big
one,
right?
They beat Duke. They beat, who they beat in the opener? They beat Northwestern or somebody. I feel like they beat another academic school besides just Duke. All right, here it is. West Virginia, Duke, Houston, Iowa State, who they beat
That's
last week, and Tennessee Tech. So really, out of those, Tennessee Tech, they've beaten 3 Power 5 teams out of the 5. And the fourth is Houston, who's been a good program.
So Rock Chalk Jayhawk, baby, 5-0.
Good for them. Go
Now,
KU.
meanwhile, talking about the universities of my tour, and we could do this for a while, but IU, Derek, they go to Nebraska. I'm going to say this again. I'm not saying that I'm taking joy in saying it because I think he's a wonderful man. I think he's a nice person. I don't know him personally, but I know people who do, who all speak very highly of him. But Tom Allen ain't it for Indiana. He just didn't. Tom Allen is not the guy long-term for Indiana. And Indiana, as they always do, immediately falls in love with the first girl that, gives him a kiss and goes out and gives him a huge contract. So Tom Allen's got the 4th highest buyout in college football. They're stuck with Tom Allen. But they look undisciplined. They look sloppy. They look ill-prepared. And the recruiting has not been great. It's back to square one for
I'm going to
Indiana.
let this season play out.
Fair.
But I'll tell you this. If you're going 2-10 and 3-9 in years 5 and 6, there's not a lot of reason to think that it's really hard to preach progress.
Right.
When those are the results. I don't judge Indiana when they lose to Ohio State or to Michigan or to Penn State. I judge them when they lose to Nebraska. That's a game that it felt like
when the
they
game
had
was
to
on the
have.
line, they got blown out. You know what I mean?
They had 2 drives. They had 2 drives right before halftime to make that a 21-21 game. Outside of that, Jake, they ran 54 plays for 140 yards. They gained 5 yards in the 4th quarter. It can't happen. Look, I know you don't have Cam Camper. I know you've got some injuries as well. The offensive line is an issue.
Everybody's got injuries.
Indiana's issues are their issues. But still, that's not a great Nebraska team. It's certainly not a great Nebraska defense. You made them look great for large stretches of that game.
Derek, I mentioned this on Saturday. Excuse me. When I was a kid living in central Indiana, my dad, I remember going one Saturday, I was in probably 3rd or 4th grade. My dad took me to the Butler Bowl to go see Butler play football, and I loved it because it was college football. I rolled down the hill. I think I took Chad Curran, but I was so excited to go see a college football game, and it was cool.
Butler Bowl's a great stadium.
It is.
Yeah.
And then I got to thinking about when we were there on Saturday. It was beautiful at Schumann Stadium up in Muncie. What'd it take us? You drove us up there. What'd it take us? An hour maybe? Door to door?
I actually did the map questions to see what that would say on Google Maps, and it said exactly 1 hour from our parking spot in the Purple Line.
So, from the north side of Indianapolis
to Midtown,
45 to 50 minutes.
Well, north side, would be even shorter, but to Midtown it was an hour. I just want to make sure that we had that correct. So Midtown to Muncie, about an hour.
From Meridian Kessler
north side about 50
to Muncie, an hour.
Meridian Kessler, part
Schumann
of Midtown.
Stadium's a cool, great vantage point stadium. The weather was great, and you're seeing Division I college football athletes that are that may go to a bowl game this year for $15.
Yeah, it's high level football.
You want to take your kids to go see a game. You want to talk about like a family friendly, get them a Chick-fil-A while you're there environment. $15.
888 BSU ticket, by the way. Shameless plug there for Ball State, but
888.
What a win!
BSU ticket, right?
And you get the home game back. I mean, you would have been 0-2 in the MAC with 2 home losses. That's
right.
a tough one to bounce back from. And you get the Bronze Stalk back, so you get it's a rivalry game, it's a trophy game, and you beat a team that was the preseason MAC favorite.
Northern Illinois. What did Mike News say to us about Ball State going into it? He said, "Look, we got to get this one on the right track in the MAC," and they were down.
21 donut, yeah.
And you're down, and 21 love.
21 donut, yeah.
21 zip. 21 nothing. Nobody says donut.
21 donut.
And they come. It could be. What if it's a square donut?
Donuts are round. I mean, you could make a square bagel, I guess.
Tiger
if you
Claw?
want, but they're
Claw's
round.
a donut. It's not round.
No, it's not. Tiger Claw's more of a pastry than a donut.
Nonetheless, great win for Ball State to come from behind and win in double overtime over Northern Illinois and take back the Bronze Stalk and get themselves a win in the MAC.
Yeah, great rally, great win.
And we're going to be there again, right?
We had a great afternoon at Ball State. We're going to be there again on October 22nd before their game against Eastern Michigan. So they've got 2 more directional Michigans. They've already played Western. They play Central on the road next week. Then they have UConn at home and Eastern Michigan at home.
Are we going to get What's Happening Todd to go with us?
I was going to ask our buddy Sean Sullivan. I'm sure he'd be cool with it. But, yeah, I would like to bring What's Happening Todd with us to Ball State to do that show. and have him even come on the air with us.
Can he
'Cause
do
he
cheers?
is the biggest Ball State fan I've ever met in my life.
You know who else is? Tyrone Shelton.
Tyrone, he cheered for
The
Ball
nice
State.
guy at the party.
Yeah, he cheered at Ball State.
Tyrone
so he's
Shelton
a
also.
huge Ball State guy,
Well,
too.
I love Tyrone Shelton. I hope he's doing well.
Yeah, me too. I ran into him at the Combine a couple years
Great
ago.
dude.
Yeah, great. We took a picture together, the whole deal.
So Love That plays next.
Love That plays next. Quick hits, and we still have Chateau Kitchen's Bader Bowl Bleep to get to. It's Query and Schultz. Don't go anywhere. Where would you go anyway? It's a Monday night. ISC Sports Network.
Hey, AC!
Nice snap.
Mortgage is a snap! Duh!
Bailey and Wood, a lending hand for Wish TV Sports.
Other universities didn't fit into my life.
They said I'd have to quit my job to go to school.
He said it would take me 4 years to graduate.
They said I have to take tests when they tell me to.
They said my degree would cost a fortune.
But I didn't have to listen to them.
Because I have a university that listens to me.
Tests on your time, courses on your time. Graduate on your time. WGU, the University of You.
Hey, AC!
Nice snap.
Mortgage is a snap! Duh!
Bailey and Wood, a lending hand for Wish TV Sports.
Welcome back. Bailey and Wood presents Query and Schultz here on the IC Sports Network. Thanks to Vince. Thanks to Rake. Thanks to Jordan on the other side of the glass.
And thanks to Bailey and Wood, our presenting sponsor, right?
That's right. 855-350-HOME, BAWFG.com. If you're looking to refi, you're probably not looking to refi right now with interest rates where they are. But still, I know the housing market, the good news is the housing market has cooled down a little bit, but you still have to get that pre-approval
And you want to talk about
for your
Derek.
mortgage. So go ahead and do that through Bailey and Wood and Mike and his team at Bailey and Wood.
And when
Financial
you
Group.
see, like when we go every year to the Bailey and Wood golf outing, and you see 1,000 golfers from all walks, and the one thing that's great is everybody knows that they're there not only for a great golf outing, but they're there to help raise money for different charities throughout Indiana and throughout Central Indiana. And Bailey and Wood's commitment towards giving that and being a part of the community is immediately where you say, that's what I want here, is a company that's keeping my money at home, right? And that's Hoosier grown, Hoosier values. That's what I love about Bailey and Wood.
Yeah, I totally agree. I love everything about what they do and kind of what they stand for. But also just from a business standpoint, you can trust them and they're going to do great work for you.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, that's what people want. They want that trust and they want that great work, and you get that with Bailey and Wood Financial Group. Let's get to our quick hits here as we start to begin to wrap up the show. Okay, well,
It was a quick hit.
Haven't done that in a while. So I guess I'll let that slide. My voice cracked a little bit there. 3, 2, 1. You haven't done that in a while, so I'll let that one slide. Paul Christ out at Wisconsin. How about that?
Somebody asked a great question. Would Paul Christ, for those that are unfamiliar, Paul Christ, head football coach at Wisconsin, had good success there. But Brett Bielema was formerly the coach at Wisconsin and left under pretty ugly circumstances, if I'm not mistaken, and circuitously finds his way back now at Illinois, where they went in and won at Wisconsin.
And they whooped them.
And that was the end of the Paul Christ era. Would that have been the case if that had been Indiana or Purdue or Minnesota or Northwestern?
Yeah, that's a good question. Because, look, he's a 2-time Big Ten Coach of the Year. They won the Big Ten West 3 times. They won a bunch of bowl games. They went 9-4 last year and won a bowl game. Yeah. Even though they started like this year, they started kind of rocky. But since the 2020 season, they've gone 15-10. And Wisconsin's to the point now where
good for Wisconsin that they got
that's
standards,
not good
right?
enough. Yeah, I mean, 15-10 is not good enough.
By the way,
I guess.
do you remember Brett Bielema, Derek? What's the only thing that Brett Bielema has done for the two of us that no one else has done?
We had him on the show when he was still at Wisconsin before they were playing, I don't know, Indiana or Purdue. And he wrote us a handwritten, well, it wasn't handwritten, but it had the masthead. Okay, so it was handwritten. Thanking us for having him on the show.
Yeah.
And even there was something like we joked, I don't even remember what we were joking around with him about. You joked around with him about something, and he made mention of it, because some people were like, oh, well, he just had his secretary write it or whatever. I'm like, no, he
He did.
mentioned something from the interview.
And it was like, anything you need, let me know, Brett Bielema. Yeah.
So I'm kind of like you. I can only go off this one very limited 15-minute experience that I had with Bielema, but I always kind of liked him because he was super cool to us.
Yeah, he was great.
He was super cool. So I don't know. He might be a disaster of a guy. I have no idea, but he was cool to me.
But nonetheless, so Wisconsin looking for a new coach.
I mean, that's kind of what people always ask me about you, because a lot of people have good experiences with Jake, and then I'm letting them know you're basing that on a 15-minute interaction. Like, I've known Jake for 10 plus years, and I can tell you that based on that interaction, don't let those 15 minutes fool you. He can be like kind of a nasty person.
When have I ever?
Because everyone's like, oh yeah, like you and Jake Jake's great. I just love Jake. He should run for mayor. Or, I wanted to be the godfather of my kid, and like stuff like that. And I'm like, well, because he answered your phone call in the air or replied to, well, you don't reply to emails, replied to a tweet.
Oh, I reply to emails.
Yeah.
I just get a lot of them.
Come on, man. Did you see this pro fishing weights controversy?
No.
You missed this video?
Yes.
I'm dead serious. This is like the funniest thing ever. The winners of a major Ohio fishing tournament allegedly stuffed their fish with lead weights in order to collect a cash prize. A video that went viral over the weekend showed judges at this fishing tournament cutting open walleye and little lead balls falling out of each of the fish.
Was this Sammy Sosa?
They were set to take home nearly $30,000 in winnings when Jason Fisher, who was the tournament director, smelled something fishy.
Wait, hold on. The tournament director's name is Jason Fisher?
And he smelled something fishy.
Okay.
The contest's alleged shady participants, Jacob Runyon and Chase Kaminsky. Chase is the perfect name. What do you do, Chase? Pro fisher. Weighed in at 5 walleyes for 34 pounds, and those usually weigh about 4 pounds apiece. So you're saying to yourself, whoa, wait a minute here. These walleyes are about 4 pounds apiece, and you come in here 34 pounds.
Now, how did they get the pellets in them?
What they did was they would take an extra fillet of walleye, roll it around so it was flesh-colored, the lead ball, roll it around the lead ball, and then stuff it in the mouth. I guess the judges might just do like an oral examination of the fish. So you take the walleye and you just kind of look in there and see if there's anything in there. And if you just see like flesh color, you don't think that there's like a lead weight in it. And it's not until they cut it open that they realize, hey, wait a minute. This is I don't know anything about fish, Jake. I mean, I'm
so
assuming,
they were hoping the judges caught it hook, line, and sinker.
So you catch the fish and then I don't know, you kill the fish. Is it dead? Or maybe it's still alive, and you force the poor thing to swallow a lead ball. It looked like a musket ball, like that's what it looked like. We're only talking about a couple of pounds here.
This was where?
This tournament was in Ohio, but these guys had been winning a lot of these tournaments. And so the video, you have to look up the video. The video is great because one guy's like, take him to jail and, F you and all this stuff. Like they are enraged by this, that they would cheat the game. So it's just sad because when I think of the pro fishing circuit, I think of trust and integrity. And to have that violated this way, it's very disheartening for me as a angling fan.
You think of fish stories as legitimate and not embellished?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, no one's ever lied about a fish that they caught.
This from the same guy who earlier said he had a quote hot streak while working at Outback Steakhouse. Mm-hmm.
I have the receipts.
Okay.
I'm just telling you. I have like old Facebook wall posts. I don't have any of the text messages because that was in the flip phone. But like
wall posts?
Yeah, like on Facebook where people could write on your wall like messages. So it'd be like, I miss you, I need you, when are you coming over, like all that stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you bring the coupons for the Blooming Onion?
Good. I'd show you the text messages, but we couldn't screenshot back in those days. Plus, those were pretty raunchy. I'd rather keep those private.
Okay.
Rather keep those ones private. On a much more serious note, and if you're a longtime watcher of the show, this is a very deep cut, but this is something that you'll remember Jake talking about. Your worst fear came true at the Steelers-Jets game yesterday. I don't know if you saw this, but a spectator at the Steelers-Jets game fell from an escalator and died.
Really?
Yeah. The Pittsburgh Department of Public Safety.
That was in Pittsburgh?
Yes, they were alerted. Actually, I think, was it at the Jets game? I thought they were in New York. Maybe they were in Pittsburgh. It's not Heinz Field anymore.
They were in
Pittsburgh.
Okay,
it's not Heinz Field anymore, so I don't know what's what. But the Jets won that game 24-20. It was after the game, so 4:45. A male spectator fell. Paramedics and tried to administer care before he was taken to the hospital in critical condition, but unfortunately the man died shortly thereafter. They just said, look, we're aware of the incident, whatever else, but you've been talking about that, man. These exposed – you have to protect people from themselves. I know there's only so much that you can do, but with the amount of – and I don't want to insinuate that he was like – I don't know. I don't know the – even if you weren't drinking,
take the
it's
alcohol
scary.
consumption away from it. If you take the alcohol consumption away from it, so let's say that this poor man was not intoxicated. I can only go off of Lucas Oil Stadium. I have not ridden the escalators at Pittsburgh Stadium. I've done it in the old Shea, for example. These huge escalators in stadiums that go like 3 stories. First off, when you have X number of people, I'm using my hands here, this wide, that have to get into an escalator like this, there's already kind of the pushing nature of it, right? Where you get onto the escalator. Then you've got to go all the way down. And in Lucas Oil Stadium, it empties into a mezzanine where people are standing around.
Yeah.
So people are getting backed up. It is a knock on wood, and I hope it obviously never happens. But it is amazing to me that we have not had a tragedy like that in the stadium in Indianapolis. It's terrifying to me.
And it's a lot of stadiums that do that.
I know.
A lot of them. And you wonder, it's tough. If you have any sort of physical limitation, it's tough to do stairs. But, I know at the Garden you had to climb stairs. This was pre-renovation. But a lot of the stadiums that I can remember, even in the 80s and 90s, had these giant escalators and there are no barriers. It's like what you would ride at Circle Center Mall. I mean, it's the same type of escalator.
Well, we had an incident, unfortunately, at Circle Center, right?
I mean, I think maybe they should put some barriers on there just to protect people from that happening. There's such a mass of people. So, it's obviously a very tragic and sad thing, but I read that story and I thought of you immediately because that's what you've always talked about.
Scares me to death, yep.
Yeah. Let's wrap up the show when we come back on a much lighter
note.
note.
Did Love That Play, Derek.
Chateau, Biter Bowl. Oh, you're right. I didn't do Love That Play. Sorry. You mentioned Shea Stadium, one of the worst baseball stadiums around.
Say that Love That Play is brought to you by the good guys at Love Heating and Air, love-hvac.com. Each and every week, our favorite play from the weekend. Love Heating and Air has been around for over 100 years in Central Indiana. That is thanks to fabulous customer service, 24-hour on-call maintenance. I got a text. I sent it to John Love this week. I wish I still had it here. I'd read it to you. I think I might have deleted it. I got a text from a listener this week that said air conditioning went out and I had to go around to several different places. Love Heating and Air not only came in cheaper than anybody, but they came in and I could not be more thrilled with the customer service. That's what you get from Love Heating and Air. Love-HVAC.com, 317-353-2141. Now's the time to make sure the furnace is up and running before we get cold.
Mentioned Shea Stadium, a really bad baseball stadium. I've always heard that Safeco, if it's still called Safeco, is a really nice one out in Seattle. That stadium, if I'm not mistaken, had only actually seen one Mariners playoff team because it opened. Amazing? I think it opened in 2001. I might be a year or so off, but let's just go with it. 2001, the Mariners win 114 games.
Yep.
Losing the ALCS to the Yankees. 21 years later, they're back in the playoffs for the first time. Thanks to a walk-off homer from Cal Raleigh. I'd be lying to you if I said I had ever heard of that player. Was
he wearing a Raleigh cap?
I don't know, but this is, Jake, like, can you name a player on the Oakland Athletics right now? Like, these West Coast teams.
Oakland Athletics?
Yeah.
Or the Mariners?
These West Coast, well, even the Mariners. These West Coast teams, it's tough when you don't.
Name a Diamondback.
No. Oh, God, who did they sign that was a they signed somebody that's good.
By the way, my Love That Play going,
That's
I
not
mentioned
playing
it
that
earlier,
well.
to Devin Muckabee. Who is it, Muckabee or Muckabee?
Muckabee.
Devin Muckabee. Purdue, the running back walk-on, when Purdue needed to salt away the game against Minnesota, he was spectacular. And when they needed a hero, he was there to help Jeff Brom and the Boilermakers get a win for the first time, I believe, since 1972 outdoors at Minnesota. Keep in mind they played indoors a lot of those years. But Devin Muckabee is my Love That Play winner. He was spectacular for the Boilermakers.
Madison Bumgarner.
He's a Diamondback?
That's who I was thinking of. I was like, he was good, and now he's there, and I was
Derek,
totally spaced.
I asked a question on Twitter the other day of name a pro sports title that, like, you have no recollection of.
Yeah.
And several people pointed out when the Giants won the World Series, and
Yeah.
it would have been Madison Bum, and that was the MVP award where the fella from Ford just said it's got features and all kinds of stuff.
Any of those Giants titles, 10, 12, and 14, you'd say that about. And then 02 is a great one. Angels and Giants.
Yeah, that's
the one thing I remember about that series. The Giants led in the 8th inning of Game 6. They were up 3-2, if I'm not mistaken, and gave up. The Angels rallied. Remember the rally monkey? The Angels rallied, won, and then ended up winning Game 7.
Somebody else pointed out on that. So my question was, and I was thinking of the big three sports. Name one that, in the time that you've been a sports fan, that when you look at the list of champions, you're like, oh my gosh, I completely forgot that. The Dallas Mavericks winning in the NBA. I have no recollection of that series.
I mean, I watched it. I was 20.
Jason Terry was really good,
I was
right?
23. No, that was 2011.
Okay.
06 was the 2006 was the Mavs and Heat. But yes, Jason Terry and the 2011 team was great.
Who'd they beat?
They swept Kobe and the Lakers in the Western playoffs, and then they beat LeBron. That was the first LeBron, Bosh, Wade team. So I was watching a lot of that series. But the one that kind of sticks out to me, if we're being totally honest, if you weren't a Bears or Colts fan, maybe you remember the Hester kickoff return. That was an extremely forgettable Super Bowl between the Colts and Bears.
Prince is probably more famous than anything.
But it's Peyton Manning's signature moment, right? So that makes it memorable, I think, in itself.
The Ravens-Giants?
That was a horrible game.
Yeah.
Horrible.
That's way up there.
Yeah. Giants just got destroyed.
How about Raiders-Bucks?
Raiders-Bucks was a really bad game. And, Rich Gannon. Remember, that was a really weird year.
How about the Royals? What year was that?
Just because it was the Royals, 15?
Todd, our coworker,
they went in 14 and lost to the Giants.
That was the 2 weeks that
Mets.
Todd, our coworker, was a huge Royals
fan. Who's usually a Cardinals fan. He's like, same state. I'm like, those cities are 8 hours apart, aren't they?
And they're bitter rivals. Yes.
I mean, come on, man. It's like me rooting for the Grizzlies or something. It's same state. Okay, got to hop in a car and drive.
Bite or Bull Schultz next?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right,
and then we'll wrap up the show. It's Corey and Schultz here on the ISC Sports Network. I don't know why I said it like that.
Hey, I'm Jeff Saturday, and my favorite thing when I was a professional football player was Indiana. The Hoosier State always made me feel like family. That's why I trust Indiana's hometown mortgage lender, Bailey & Wood. This family-owned company not only gives back to the communities they serve, but also with their 5-star customer service, they can close on your dream home in days, not weeks. So remember, Indiana, you can always get your mortgages at a snap with Bailey & Wood.
Hey, Jeff, how does this look? Yay!
Not bad, bud, but let's stick to mortgages.
Your life is on the go. Now your viewing habits can be on the go. With the ISC Sports Network app, your team is at your fingertips. You can download years' worth of content from the ISC Sports Network library. High school, college, special events, weekly and monthly shows, wherever you find your favorite app. And you can always find out more information at iscsportsnetwork.com.
Back for final time. The show is technically called Query and Schultz, but I feel like lately it's been Schultz and Query, or maybe Schultz and Schultz, because Jake has no interest in bringing it back from any of the ins and outs. You were adamant on the radio about bringing it back all the time.
Well, that was...
I want my voice heard, and on this show you're just like...
That was management mandated.
Vince gave us the 5 seconds countdown, and you took a big chomp out of your hoagies and hops.
Can you blame me on that?
Well, I
Sandwich
guess
is
I can't, but we have a show to do at the end of the day. Let's wrap up with our friends at Chateau Kitchens, chateaukitchens.com. At Chateau Kitchens on Instagram and Facebook for the before and after pictures. They're amazing. Their entire crew, Stephen Moore from the owner on down to Ryan, one of their many project managers. Megan has been our designer. Victoria was our designer for our kitchen. Megan has been for our guest bathroom and now for our basement. They are a fantastic job. They're going to do excellent, excellent work for you. Give them a shout today if you have anything on the interior of your home, especially kitchens, but they do anything. Bathrooms, basements, the whole deal. ChateauKitchens.com. Statement 1, Jake. Buy it or bull bleep. An in-season coaching change wouldn't make sense for the Colts.
I actually buy that. It's not going to lift you this year, right?
Yeah.
So...
And I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think Irsay would do that. Even if things really went south, I don't think he'd do it. I'm going to buy it because I think that I feel very strongly that if this thing doesn't get fixed this year, you have to move on from both. Like I'm still, it still surprises me. People across the board at this point think that Reich should probably go. It still surprises me that people are still holding on to Ballard. Like he deserves another chance to get this right. And I don't think he deserves that chance.
I would agree with that.
I don't.
He's had plenty of time, right? I mean,
I think
sure, he has there's no doubt that Ballard has, Derek, the cushion of Andrew Luck's retirement. That's over, man.
Yeah.
That excuse is gone.
No,
I mean,
it
listen,
is.
you had your chance to get your next franchise quarterback, and you used it on Wentz.
Yeah.
And it blew up on you. That's on you.
And even if Reich talked you into it, you're the decision maker, right? It's your You're the general manager. That's your call. Yeah, so I buy that one. Statement number 2, the Big 12 and Pac-12 will once again get shut out of the college football playoff. I mean, Kansas is still undefeated.
USC.
Oklahoma State, still
USC.
undefeated. Yes. I mean, technically, sure. I feel like we do this every year with USC, and then they lose to Oregon State in a Thursday night game.
It's really early, but right now you've got Alabama.
Yeah.
You got Georgia.
Ohio
State.
The Big Ten winner is going to go.
Ohio State's in.
Well, it's either going to be Ohio State, Penn State, or Michigan, but the Big Ten winner is going to be in the playoff.
Ohio State's in, right? Then you got Alabama, Georgia, and then right behind it, Clemson and USC, right?
Yeah.
I think Clemson is going to stub their toe. Clemson's not going to run the table.
The ACC is better. It is. It's still not good, but it's a better league than it's been.
But Clemson's going to lose at Notre Dame, right?
Why are you convinced of that? Clemson is going to be a double-digit favorite at Notre Dame.
Ooh.
It's quite. I bet you. Let's pick the line right now. I bet you Clemson is a 10.5-point favorite at Notre Dame. Maybe 11.
5.5.
Okay. I mean, Vegas knows, so we'll see what Vegas says. And I haven't looked at futures, so I don't know
Clemson's
what.
got to go to Boston College this week.
BC hasn't been relevant in 15. BC's last relevant team was with Matt Ryan.
Clemson
They've been down bad.
Clemson still has at Notre Dame, at Florida State.
FSU's just okay.
And Miami at home.
Yeah. Miami's all bluster. But Clemson's MO is to lose one of those games you don't expect them to lose, for sure.
So, but anyway, I think USC's in pretty good position.
But I think USC needs help. That's my point. So that's why
I don't think USC needs help, though.
USC needs help. If Clemson is an undefeated ACC champion, Ohio State's an undefended Big Ten champion, and at this point, the SEC just gets 2 in. You're out.
I think USC has enough cachet, though, Derek. USC gets in, right?
I don't think that league
undefeated
provides enough.
USC and undefeated Clemson. Who gets in?
I think it's still probably Clemson. I think the Notre Dame game might actually, if Notre Dame's probably like a 8-win team, that probably helps you. I don't know what USC's non-league is. Well, USC plays Notre Dame too.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I think I buy it. Okay, I buy it.
Okay.
Statement 3 and final one: Monument Circle should be pedestrian only. You work down there. Buy it or bull bleep?
Nah. No, it would be too because then it would be too difficult to get.
No, it wouldn't be difficult at all.
Hear me out. If you've got to go, if you're going down Meridian and you got to get to the stadium, then now you're going to have to go on Ohio and around and back.
Yep. Do it. I want Indianapolis to be mapped out like Paris, where everyone is on bikes. They're baguettes sticking out of the basket.
Have you been to Paris?
Like that's no, but I've watched TV, so I know I basically know what it is. That's what I want it to be like. So pedestrian only, and let's just have that. Let's have like little concerts, the whole deal.
Okay.
I know people here in Indiana want their car all the time, but let's separate people from their car just a little bit. I think Broad Ripple should be pedestrian too. You can cut through Kessler. You can go up to 75th. There are lots of places that you can go to get east to west. I don't think you need Broad Ripple Avenue to do it.
You and Andy Morin just get together and let's just shut cars off everywhere.
Let's just do it.
Let's just start skateboarding down Meridian.
Yep.
What the hell?
Skateboard. That's
just
not
be
bad.
Marty McFly.
Skateboard. Any of that stuff.
Okay.
Longboard, bicycle, wagon. Pull me in a wagon. You pull me in a wagon around Monument Circle. That'd be great. We'll have lunch together. Pull me in a wagon. It's a good workout for you. It helps upper arm strength. You said that you're gaining weight.
Okay.
You could switch arms. Pull from
the
back.
Be in the back on your little
pull
radio
from the back
flyer
like this, and then you get some tries.
Are you gonna do like the
Do
escalators should have and have the little wooden runways on the side so you don't fall out?
Whatever works. Thanks to our great sponsors today. Maybe they can sponsor a wagon for us, the QNS wagon. Bailey & Wood Financial Group. Lou Malnati's Pizzeria. We're going to be there Thursday night. We'll see you then in Broad Ripple.
6 o'clock until 8 o'clock.
WGU Indiana.
Colts Broncos.
Love Heating and Cooling, Hoagies and Hops, Chateau Kitchens, and Ball State Sports. For Jake Query and everybody here, our ISC crew, I'm Derek Schultz. We'll see you Thursday
Apparently
night.
Vincent, too. Thank you,
Bye.
Vincent.